After a record year of police shootings, Phoenix police ushered in reforms that included requiring all Phoenix officers to document and be ready to justify every time they draw their weapon and point it at a person.
ABC 15 investigator Melissa Blasius has new information on what Phoenix is doing and how it's different from other large cities.
Phoenix police, let me see your hands. Hands.
Requiring officers to document and justify every time they point guns at people is a trend in policing nationwide. Phoenix police call them PGPs, pointing guns at people. And in the first 3 months of their new policy, they reported holding more than 1,300 people at gunpoint.
If there's people in society, the community, that think it's over the top, sorry, you haven't done the job, you haven't walked a mile in our shoes, and you haven't been on the receiving end of it. Until you are, you can't sit there and go, well, that's too many times.
Just this week, Phoenix police say an officer was shot when a suspect beat him to the draw. An assistant police chief told us back in November that officers are instructed to rely on their training on when to pull a gun.
So it's scenario-based, it's repetition, it's experience. There isn't a specific policy that says only under this circumstance can you take out your firearm.
5 other big cities across the country do have specific policies on when police officers can draw their weapons. It's a higher standard, and unlike Phoenix, most of them also classify displaying a weapon as a use of force. Cleveland and New Orleans have nearly identical policies. Officers shall not draw or exhibit a firearm unless the circumstances surrounding the incident create an objectively reasonable belief that a situation may escalate to the point at which lethal deadly force would be authorized. At the Dallas Police Department, officers may draw or display firearms when there is a threat or reasonable belief that there is a threat to life, or they have a reasonable fear for their own safety and or the safety of others. Chicago does not consider gun pointing a use of force, but does have a 4-page policy telling officers to consider the reasonableness of their action. And Baltimore's policy even warns of the downside, saying unnecessarily drawing or exhibiting a firearm may limit a member's alternatives in controlling a situation, create unnecessary anxiety on the part of citizens, and or result in an unwarranted or accidental discharge of the firearm. That warning echoes the concerns of some Phoenix community leaders outspoken about the number of police shootings.
We need to call it what it is, right? Like, you are using force, you're using intimidation tactics, and that we need to regulate, like, when do you get to do that, right? Why? Under what circumstances?
But increasing restrictions on police gun policies may get pushback among Phoenix rank-and-file officers.
Those are administrators that are trying to pander to radical activist elements within their communities, and what they're going to do is get cops killed.
Phoenix police leadership say they're still in the monitoring phase. They want more data and information about these gun-pointing incidents before they would consider any change. I'm investigator Melissa Blasius, ABC 15 Arizona.